Guess who's back? Back again. Slim. Wait, that's not Slim Shady. Billie Eilish is back. Billie Eilish is back. We should probably talk about this, friends. But before we get into this hot topic of conversation and dialogue, let me introduce myself if you're new here. My name is Cowders Live, and basically on this channel what we do is video essays talking about things on the internet, and then we all discuss it as a community down in the comment section below. So if that sounds like fun for you, please feel free to subscribe. We're trying to beat this hero ratio. Let's go team, yippee, words of motivation. And if not new here, hello again friends. I am well, I hope you're well, and I've got an egg in my pocket. Egg. Not sure why, my auntie gave it to me, and I like the weight of it, so I tend to take it around with me wherever I go. Anyways, back onto the topic of conversation, why Billie Eilish is being called a culture vulture. In recent years, Billie Eilish has absolutely climbed the ladder to like superstardom, galactic, once in a lifetime, not even that, but like once in an absolute anomaly level of fame, like superstardom to the max. Zooey mama, you are very famous. Billie's known for her unique style, music and persona. However, in her rise to fame, she has also faced multiple accusations of cultural appropriation, and some even calling her a culture vulture. You know those big old birds that eat animal carcasses, but instead of animal carcasses, it's taking from marginalized communities and making it cool and quirky. And that's pretty whack. These accusations primarily revolve around her use of African American vernacular English, AAVE, her adoption of aesthetics that are stereotypically associated with black culture, and her use of things such as durags. So kind of like the aim of this video is to dive into these issues, examine why they're problematic, and kind of just discuss the wider implications for society. And I also probably should just say, in this video, instead of it just being an absolute yak from me for like half an hour, I'm going to be showing TikToks from people from the affected communities who are expressing their concerns with Billie Eilish's actions, just so it's not me like pitting my voice above theirs, because this video is about, you know, raising awareness of the marginalized community, so me just yapping over them would be weird. Before we get into those actual talking points, let's set up the basis of this video essay by answering what is cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is a term that refers to the act of taking or using elements of one culture by members of another culture, and this is often without permission or true understanding of the original context. And this of course can become particularly problematic when the culture being appropriated is historically one that has been marginalized or oppressed. This issue, you see, is deep-rooted in power dynamics and power imbalances, where the dominant culture borrows or exploits aspects of the culture without recognizing or respecting the significance of their values. Cultural appropriation, I feel when you say that to most people, they think it's mainly just about how people dress, but cultural appropriation can manifest in multiple different ways. Through language, through fashion as well, and also things like music and other cultural expressions. And why it isn't just like the sharing of different cultures and embracing different cultures is because more often than not, it leads to the trivialization and commodification of cultural practices, stripping them of their original meaning and basically turning them into, oh, look at this cool, quirky thing. I'm so different. I'm so amazing. I've totally just found myself. No, Steve, you haven't found yourself. You're incredibly one-dimensional and annoying. An example of cultural appropriation can be the adoption of African American vernacular English by members that do not belong to this community. Steve, the white dude from California. AAVE is a dialect with deep historical and cultural roots. You know, it has been shaped by the experiences of black communities within the United States. And historically, things like AAVE were stigmatized and viewed as negative by mainstream media. However, when these same elements were then adopted by, say, a white famous person, they are often celebrated and deemed as trendy or the current cool thing to do. And understandably, as we'll see today, through the content creators I share with you all, this double standard is a significant source of frustration and anger. To truly appreciate different cultures and make it so it's not just cultural appropriation is about recognizing the power imbalances and the history of oppression that cultures have faced. You know, it's basically just about doing the bare minimum, being aware of the histories, the values, the significance these different things mean to the culture that it came from, right? Just being aware and thinking with some degree of critical thought. And now that we've got the basis of what cultural appropriation is out of the way, Let's start with the first talking point surrounding Billie Eilish. Billie's use of African American vernacular English, AAVE. I'm probably just going to call it AAVE from here on out. I would now like to show my first TikTok example of AAVE.
What exactly is AAVE? In the most simple terms, it's the way that many Black Americans communicate with one another that has evolved and continues to evolve over the last few centuries. For example, Nadine is going shop. But in AAVE, you would drop the is and just say, Nadine going shopping. Parts of the verb, like is and are often dropped in AAVE because the meaning is already implied. The habitual be signifies that something is often or usually done. So, from our example sentence of Nadine be going shopping, the listener understands that, dang, Nadine really loves to shop.
And how this links back to Billie Eilish is there's been multiple occasions where people have felt that Billie has used AAVE. One of the most notable situations was on TikTok Live, where even Billie's brother Phineas pointed out that Billie was not talking like herself at all. She was adopting mannerisms and a talking style that just isn't authentically her.
Kaylin, Crooks, why everybody...
Billie, you sound nothing like yourself.
And you say your dick is big and it's not.
Whoa.
It is funny as fuck.
Hey, Billie, why are you speaking with an accent?
Huh? I'm not.
You're being, like, completely a different person.
So...
Hey, don't make videos. What are you doing? You sound nothing like
that's
yourself.
That's how I talk.
That's how I talk. It's nothing like you.
He kept his stank-ass feet. Ooh.
Hey, Billie, would you be willing to turn this off for a second?
For why?
Just turn it back on in a second. I just need to talk to you.
And many people were quick to point out that what she was trying to do here was AAVE. It is no secret that Billie is deeply inspired by Black musicians. And perhaps you could say because she was very young when this live happened, it was her misguided and misinformed attempt to, show her appreciation to these people that she may have heard or seen in music and or on TV, But the issue is her use of AAVE just seems very performative and disingenuous. It appears as like a real poor attempt to align oneself with Black culture without truly being a part of it. And other content creators have spoken about their frustrations of when AAVE is adopted by famous people or people in the public eye, or just people in general that don't really truly understand its history or origins or context.
The reason as to why a lot of Black people, Black individuals do not want you to use AAVE in your daily life is because you all tend to use it to sound funny and or aggressive. White people have literally took AAVE and turned it into this new language that takes away from the original purpose and whole message of the entire word. Like for instance, when the word period came out, everybody was like, period, 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 like period this, period that. However, once that little trend was over with the word period, a lot of white people, white individuals, started using that word to sound funny.
The issue when influential figures like Billie Eilish use AAVE is basically because she has this unbelievably large platform, it leads to the misappropriation by other, fans who do not understand the cultural significance. So, I would like to quickly say if you're a Billie Eilish fan and you've just mimicked her because you saw her doing it, that doesn't in totality make you a horrible person or anything like that at all. It's just like you've been misguided by someone that doesn't probably also realize what they're perpetuating within society. Because like I said, I think Billie was very young at this time, and I think it's very common for kids to mimic their idols or people they're inspired by without thinking about the totality or the wider things that it is pushing or perpetuating within society, right? And I think it's good that, an older person in the room, Phineas, her brother, felt he could call her out and be like, stop, you're not sounding like you sound like you're doing a character, it seems disingenuous, it doesn't seem right. And me saying these things isn't to wash away the, negative impact Billie Eilish doing these things has, It's also just acknowledging she was probably just not thinking with critical thought here. And if you notice, none of these people are calling Billie racist or wanting her music career to end. They're just saying, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't just trivialize it and make it like a caricature or something silly funny when it doesn't really belong to you. That's all people are saying here. You don't have to worry about whether you can or can't still listen to Billie Eilish, because that's not even part of the conversation that I've seen online. I'm just saying this now, if it's one of my viewers that are now very worried that they cannot listen to Billie Eilish, that's not the case at all. You can. It's just being aware that Billie Eilish has done things that have hurt people in marginalized communities, and it's just about having that open conversation to, promote change, which is totally okay. Like I said, this isn't a witch hunt or a boo hiss boo, you're scorned from the public eye forever. It's just like they're a person with a big platform, and they've kind of grown up online, so they're probably going to make errors, which is not cool, but we can use it as an educational tool for conversation to promote a more inclusive and cool society. Yippee, we're all happy and we're still all on board, I hope. Point 2, adopting aesthetics stereotypically associated within Black culture. This is a pretty new talking point I'm seeing going around online. Basically what sparked it was Billie's appearance on the YouTube channel Chicken Shop Date because of how she was dressed, and many content creators were quick to voice their opinions on this.
Say what you want about Jojo Siwa, but at least she didn't go down this route where white gay people think that in order to become more masculine, they just need to act more stereotypically Black and dress more stereotypically Black. And it's actually weird how many artists have a Black face. Like, what is wrong with you people? Can't you just be normal for 5 minutes? Same way that when Miley Cyrus had that whole breakup with Liam Hemsworth and she wanted to show us how much of like a sexual creature she was, she just started stealing Black aesthetics and started doing stereotypically Black things. And white people's rebellious stages is literally just them copying Black people, and this is just a stage, like, not her, being part of the LGBT community, but her dressing like this. It is just a phase.
Someone even said Billie looked like they were trying to cosplay Eminem, which is hilarious and accurate. Once that was pointed out to me, I could not unsee it. That's the funny intro. I hope you found the intro funny. I paced up and down in my living room for like 5 minutes trying to work out if that was funny. Please someone tell me that was funny. I should, note when talking about Billie's style here that Billie has gone on the record to say she does prefer baggy clothes because, she doesn't want to be sexualized, which, is totally fair enough. I think modern day media loves to sexualize women, especially young women. It's really as heinous and weird as that sounds. So I totally understand why one would wear baggy clothes. However, I think there's a real notable distinction between baggy clothes and this, which is what this TikToker said.
Is Billie Eilish only allowed to shop in San Andreas? Why does she look like she's going to '04 Essence Fest? When she originally was like talking about this years ago, how she likes to wear baggy clothes as to avoid people commenting on her body, I was like, yo, mad respect. Sometimes her baggy outfits lean in this direction where it's like, it's very like 90s, like slight alt 90s. But so many times it's specifically this.
Notice again, none of these people are coming for Billie's career. In fact, they're all supporting her, but they're also saying, maybe don't do this. Because the issue is, when Billie adopts these styles, it's seen as quirky, fashionable. She's this trendsetter. She's got this futuristic mind. She's so original. Nobody's doing it like her. And then you'll get swarms of millions of fans who will just mimic. And that doesn't make the fans bad people. When you're young and I think you really like someone, you want to be like them. So they'll also just go and copy this style, and it becomes this commodified, commercialized, trendy trend. Conversely, when Black individuals wore the same aesthetic, they were often faced with discrimination or negative stereotypes. And I think that really leads into the conversation of like cultural appreciation versus cultural appropriation. There's a real clear distinction between appreciating a culture, thinking it's cool, and interesting, and just appropriating it. And that lies within understanding it and respecting the cultural significance of certain styles, and also just being aware of like your privilege to be able to do these styles without really any negative ramifications. Like Billie could just rock up to somewhere in this aesthetic and it would just be, oh, isn't she just such a cool, quirky creative? Whereas someone from a marginalized community dressed up like this often may have a completely different experience. On a wider scale as well, many content creators have expressed their frustrations with Billie Eilish for years now.
Celebrities or white musicians go through this Black phase, and then they go through the, oh, now I know I shouldn't have done that. Women, I feel sorry for them. Then white people think they're woke. Billie Eilish, I won't forget you. You got called out for changing your voice when speaking to different types of people and all these other little things that you've been doing. All of a sudden, your Missy Elliott attire has disappeared. And don't think I forget it, because your new album was giving me country vibes. I've switched off.
And that's the thing. Maybe Black Rage, we know works.
Yeah, no, it does.
It works. It's been great for her. She's trending.
Because then
She's
they get
trending.
the growth period.
Yep.
And then we're supposed to feel sorry for them.
The next one I want to talk about is Billie Eilish wearing durags. I saw it a lot in the comments section of this video. Now, I personally couldn't find any photographs or videos of Billie wearing a durag. I did, however, find lots of videos of her wearing a bandana. And as something before we get deeper into this talking point, I just want to clear up is white people can 100% wear bandanas. I saw lots of typically younger people in the comment section worried that they're like, oh my gosh, can I wear bandanas? But bandanas were fine. Bandanas are fine. Historically, people from all different cultures have worn things to protect their hair, keep their hair out their eyes. Bandanas are fine. Bandanas are fair game. However, with bandanas, you have to be aware of where you are in the world, as the different colors of bandanas and such can represent ties with gangs and such. So just be aware when you wear bandanas, but broadly speaking, they're very fine to wear. I myself wear bandanas, or I haven't in a while, but I do wear them, especially when my hair gets longer, to, keep it out my eyes. I kind of look like a pirate when I do it with my aesthetic. So yeah, though I can't find any actual proof of Billie Eilish wearing durags, a lot of the people in the comment section are saying she has worn durags. So let's take this point at face value and just say she may have, and why this would be deemed as problematic. Durags aren't just like a aesthetic fashion piece. They have very functional and practical value. Their primary use is to protect specific hairstyles and maintain healthy, happy hair, not whatever this is. The issue is if Billie actually has worn durags, and it's not just people confusing bandanas for durags. It's turning these things that have an actual practical use and value into a fashion statement. And once again, what we'll see is it's suddenly cool and quirky and a trend that we've all got to try, instead of these things that were not always widely accepted, things that people had negative opinions on if they weren't from those communities, that wasn't always well received. If Billie did wear one, which I'm not saying she definitely did because I can't find any photos, but if she did, it can be seen as trivializing the durag, reducing it to a trend without actually acknowledging its practical importance and cultural history. And again, I do want to stress, this is so far from a witch hunt. It's not like they're a terrible human. I think lots of people that are just vaguely unaware probably could make these mistakes, unfortunately. They just see it, they see someone they like wearing it, and they just put it on themselves without thinking critically about why that person may be wearing that in the first place, right? I think it shows the naiveness that probably comes with Billie being young at the time she has done many of these things. And because she does have such a large platform, what she does decide to do will be met by the eyes of millions because she knows she is this prominent, famous person. So not a witch hunt at all, but rather an open conversation about people's decisions within the public eye. This is never to be a boo, hiss, boo, shame, boo, but rather what can we learn from all of this in an open, friendly, but accountable conversation. The final point I would like to discuss is influence on fans and society, and I feel that's kind of been a point I've kind of briefly talked on throughout all the points in today's video. Billie is undoubtedly a major influence for young people, and with that she has the power to literally set trends. You've seen it with so many of her styles. Young people will go out and replicate it. Why? Because Billie did it. And the negative ramification of this is it can lead to the widespread adoption of culturally significant things without the proper understanding, e.g. mimicking the AAVE vernacular or adopting certain aesthetics because you saw Billie do it, and Billie probably saw someone from these actual communities doing it, and she's just trying to mimic the people she likes. But in doing so, it can become problematic because it modifies it, and suddenly big fast fashion brands will be selling this style so you can look like Billie, and Billie is actually trying to look like an actual member of these communities. But what happens is Billie takes from it, and then the big companies take from Billie, and it just becomes this big commercialized, commodified trend or fashion that everyone will be like, yo, so cool for like a summer, and the people from these communities that had their aesthetics and items of cultural significance taken from will be like, well, we got shit for that. People were mean to us about it, or they had negative opinions on us, or they had preconceived concepts of us that just weren't true. But yet when the big A-lister celebrity does it, and her mindless minion fans all follow it, it's suddenly cool and twerky. Twerky? It's suddenly cool and quirky, sorry. And to me, that is pretty whack, and I don't like that. I think this phenomenon highlights the real broader issues here of just due to like the commodification of cultures, where elements of these marginalized communities are adopted by the mainstream just as seasonal trends. Oh, suddenly it's winter, so we're gonna make this marginalized community, we're gonna take from them, we're gonna take things that we think are cool, we're gonna make it fashionable. Yo, that's so sweet, that's so different, look at us go, so crazy cool. And then 2 summers later, it's like, oh, you're still doing that? That's not cool, that's not trendy. And that person might be like, wait, no, I'm actually from this community. This has significance to me. But it just creates this like mindless consumerism without actually thinking about the history or like the origins or the provenance of anything. And that like mindless consumerism and like hive mind of just copying trends without thinking about things critically is not good for society. Shopping with conscious thought or being aware of cultures and appreciating them is what we want here. Like I said, this is never a witch hunt or to demonize Billie. I think the sad honest truth is many people fall into the same pitfalls and traps as Billie because they see things and they're so used to just making it theirs or just doing things that they're not actually thinking about what it actually represents in broader society. I think now I'd just like to conclude on this video. Billie Eilish's influence on pop culture is undeniable. But with this great influence comes great responsibility. And as soon as I said that out loud, I'm so sorry if that sounded corny. But I think I genuinely mean it in this point, and it has genuine good validity here, right? The accusations of cultural appropriation, being a culture vulture, highlight real important issues about respect, representation, and sensitivity towards marginalized communities. I think it's like crucial for public figures to understand the history and the cultural significance behind the cultural elements they choose to adopt, because whatever they do, their fans are likely going to mimic as well. So it's like this big old trickle down effect of trivialization of things that actually have value. And I think through having this conversation, right, just this like real open conversation where we're not being like bad human boo hiss boo, but rather just an open conversation about greater awareness and respect, I like to think we can move towards a more inclusive and understanding society. So I think with that, I now present this video to the viewer, and I hope we can have a conversation about this down below and further create awareness and, just the willingness for open conversation. So I'll be down in the comments, ready to have a discussion with you all. I've been your boy Cowder's Life, and I shall see you all in the next video essay. Okay, bye!